In this video, I'm going to take you on board the launch flight of the brand new Qantas Airbus A321XLR, which is probably going to be your next plane on a domestic Qantas flight. I'll show you the inaugural flight festivities, the new seats, and explain what's new. If you're an av geek, then sit back and enjoy, but if a plane is just transport for you and you're just researching for an upcoming flight, then I'll put timestamps for the new seats in both business class and economy and extra legroom seats in the video description below. I'm also giving away some of the merchandise from the flight with details later in the video. I'm Stewart and I make videos about planes. This includes flights on interesting aircraft and guided tours around aircraft in museums. If you're into these types of videos, then please check out my channel and subscribe. The journey begins at the domestic terminal at Sydney Airport, where we made our way through security and then to the gate where the festivities were taking place. There was a kangaroo and speeches, and of course, this brand new Airbus A321XLR. I'll mention more about the technical details on board when we're flying over the Great Ocean Road later. Boarding was called, and I was keen to get on quickly to get some filming done. It's really exciting getting on board a new aircraft type, and this only happens every decade or so. The Boeing 737-800 has served Qantas very well on their domestic and short-haul international flights, with quite literally a perfect safety record, and it remains a pretty decent product. But wait until you get on board this, and you'll see why this av geek was very excited. After the friendly welcome, we turn right and enter the business cabin, which in comparison with the 737 has grown an extra 2 rows of seats to 5 in total. Looking first at the bulkhead row, and you have to be careful because this may officially have more legroom, but you can't stick your feet under the seat in front. I'll discuss the pros and cons more later. Here's a brief look at both sides, and my seat for the first flight is 3 Alpha, although thankfully the crew let me film the landing and takeoff from 5 Alpha for reasons I'll explain shortly. I took the opportunity to quickly whiz around and look at some of the other seats in economy. While waiting, I'll pan up to the luggage bins, which I'm told are 60% larger than the 737, which is great as there's definitely a growing number of people who only travel with carry-on luggage, and it's becoming pretty large, resulting in a lot of stress and tension between passengers trying to find space. Now to row 6, which is the first in economy and has extra legroom, but unlike row 1 in business, you still have the seat in front to stick a bag or your toes under. So this really is a great seat, but cost $35 to book, although I believe it becomes free from about 24 hours before the flight, if it's still available, so it's a bit of a risk to wait, hence why people will pay. We'll walk along down the 3x3 seats to row 13 and show you what a more regular seat and legroom looks like. I'm told that it's 30 inches or 76 centimeters of pitch, which is the legroom. Now here's the exit rows, row 15 and 16, which obviously have more legroom, followed by 17 and 18, which also have more legroom, while row 19 reverts back to a regular amount. Now I did fly back in 23 Alpha in economy, so I'll include footage from many of the other seats later on. It was time to start up and head to the runway.
Today, you're flying on a Qantas Airbus A321XLR. Fasten your seatbelt by inserting the clasp into the buckle.
Here's a view of Sheps Mound, where a few aviation geeks were out enjoying the Sydney weather filming the new aircraft. It's actually quite a long aircraft, in fact it's 5 meters longer than the Boeing 737-800, so my seat 3 Alpha was a long way forward, making it difficult to see the engine, so the friendly crew let me jump back to 5 Alpha for the landing and takeoff. It really was a festive flight, with the crew really being supportive of us nerdy av geeks with our special av geek requirements, such as a good view of the fan blades. We continued on to runway 34 right, and the captain gave a brief speech.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. From the flight deck, it is Captain Camille McPherson, and joining me today is Captain Dave Abella, Captain Anthony Jackson, and Captain Adam Thompson. We'd like to offer a very, very warm welcome aboard to this very first flight of the A321XLR, which is Oscar Golf Alpha Great Ocean Road to Melbourne today. It's an absolute honour for us to be flying you. We're going to be taking off to the north in just a few minutes, and you're going to get some fantastic views out both sides of the aircraft. We'll be turning right initially. For those of you on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the city, and on the right-hand side, the eastern suburbs. We have a flight time today of 1 hour and 20 minutes. I'll be updating you further into the flight on those details. On behalf of Erin and the crew, please sit back, enjoy this wonderful departure, and we hope you enjoy this very first flight.
I'll include the full unedited takeoff and landing footage in separate videos with the link below. What was prominent was how quiet the aircraft is, especially when compared with the 737. These new generations of engines, even though they're much larger and a lot more powerful, are a whole lot quieter. We also gained altitude like a stunned rabbit, which I suspect was something to do with it being pretty light with no cargo or luggage on board. Now let's have a look at these business seats with mine 3 Alpha. They have 37 inches or 94 centimeters of seat pitch, and looking down here is both a metal footrest and, or if you're not too tall, and I'm 180-ish centimeters for reference sake, you can also use this calf rest as well, which is controlled by the button here in the center section. Here's more footage of that calf rest on the seat next to me. In front of you is a jacket holder and 2 power plugs, USB-A and USB-C, with the latter being fast charging at 60 watts, which charged my camera battery really well. Down on the side is a wireless phone charger and another USB-A and C port. There is no traditional power plug, which is probably less of an issue since this is mostly for short-haul flights like today, and most of our devices can be charged through USB-C. You've got a cocktail table here in the middle, and that extends forward, revealing more space. And there's a position down here next to your legs to store a bottle of water. Up above, there's overhead air vents, which, as I've said in other videos, I'm a huge fan of because I tend to find aircraft cabins too warm for me, so a steady flow of air over what's left of my hair is always a good thing. In front of you is a small light with a touch button. Underneath that is a device holder with a ledge that folds out underneath, and above that is a more solid hook to capture the top part of the device and keep it in place. You can connect to the internet and or the Qantas Media app and stream from there. Obviously, the lack of a proper in-flight entertainment screen is contentious, especially for someone like me who does not have an iPad, but I must admit that I've been burnt in the past, struggling to find something to watch, so now I tend to organise movies and docos on my laptop beforehand and watch those. Having said that, I did connect my phone and the content is perfectly reasonable and streamed without any hiccups. I did connect to the internet and both myself and others on board did find it fluctuating and generally quite slow. At one stage I was able to start streaming a YouTube video at 1080p, but then a few minutes later struggled to post a Facebook message. Hopefully this is ironed out in the near future. In the armrest is this fold-out tray table. It half folds out, which is a nice size so you can still sneak out of your seat, and it has this device holder which folds out and angles the device up towards your line of sight. It then opens out into a regular full-size tray table. And your headrest can also be extended up if you're especially tall and need the extra support. Everyone got the same meal either in business or economy for this flight, and I had this cheese and ham toasty thing. There was also a lot of A321XLR branding, and I must admit that I kept the napkin and didn't use this coaster to do any coasting, just in case it got any liquids on it, and it's now on display in my aviation cabinet. I washed down some celebratory grape juice with another fruit and vegetable drink, which tasted fine. Apparently 16 of these aircraft are coming with lie flat seats in business class for longer flights, although they have yet to be revealed, but it's an exciting development because I wouldn't really want to be in something like this for an 8-hour flight up to Asia. Here's the business class loo, which is pretty standard. You've got this to share with 20 other business passengers, while there's only 2 for economy, which is probably a bit of a stretch. I've heard that after the 3rd aircraft arrives, they're installing another toilet up back, which is probably wise, especially if you want to fly this back from Bali or Bangkok, or Brisbane. There was this fold-out seat in here, which I must admit I wasn't entirely sure what it was for. It might be to sit on to change your clothes, or a leg rest for the throne next to it, or maybe a cocktail table. Please comment below if you know. Now let's wander around and look at a few different seats. Here is row 1 in business class, and again, while it looks like extra legroom, being unable to stick your toes under the seat in front and also having to store your bag up above might make this more unattractive. Having said that, there isn't anyone in front of you to recline into your face, so that's certainly a perk. Here is row 6 again, and the first of economy with the extra legroom and the space under the seat in front. To be honest, this is one of my favourite seats. One slight negative is that there's no tablet holder in front of you, so that has to fold out from the armrest. Again, this also does cost extra when booking. Here is one of the exit row seats, and you can see the obvious extra legroom. While the seat in front of you cannot recline back into you, I don't think that this can recline either, so take that into consideration. Here's row 18 with the extra legroom, and I must admit that I had no idea why these do have extra legroom outside of the exit rows, but it's definitely one to pick. As you can see, it's extra spacious. Behind that is row 19, and that's a standard legroom seat. So this is what 30 inches of pitch looks like, and again I'm around 180 centimeters tall, which is pretty standard I think. And here's my seat for the return flight 23 Alpha, which was also a regular legroom economy class seat. These are all slightly wider than the Boeing 737's economy seats for obvious reasons. It's 2025 and a Zempak is quite expensive again. In front of you is a coat hanger on both sides of the seat. In front of you is a single USB-A and the high power USB-C port, unlike business which has 2 of both. Directly in front of you is firstly a device holder that folds out, and my iPhone modelling. And below that is a proper tray table for your meal. It's all pretty standard stuff for an economy class seat. On the armrest is a button to recline your seat, and I've done that to the middle seat here so you can compare that with the 2 seats next to it which are fully upright. Excitingly, overhead air vents are fitted to every seat, which is still great. It also has an adjustable headrest, and the sides pinch in to support your neck while you're having a nap. Now, because it was a special flight, we actually flew down south and over the Great Ocean Road, which is actually the name of today's aircraft. While you enjoy the view at 3,000 feet, which is around 900 meters, I'll tell you more about this aircraft. The Airbus A321XLR stands for Extra Long Range, and that has, as you'd expect, a longer range of around 2,200 kilometers more than the regular A321neo. Airbus launched this model in 2019, although the development and certification process wasn't completed until November 2024, when it flew with passengers for the first time. The Spanish national airline Iberia were the launch customers last year. The primary change from the Neo was the addition of a rear center tank, replacing the additional center tank used by the LR model, so it now carries more fuel, hence the longer range. There is also a larger onboard water tank for the longer flights. To handle the additional weight of the extra fuel, both the nose and main landing gear have been reinforced. And best viewed from behind the wing from my second flight is the single slotted trailing edge flap instead of the original double slotted inboard flaps that you see on the regular range model. After that, it was time to spin around and head back towards Melbourne. Now, an important point is that I have to be transparent and say that I was invited onto this flight by Qantas. So while I don't think it clouds my judgment, I'll still be honest, and it's important that you know that I was a guest and not a paying customer. Today's flight was full of YouTubers and av geeks, so I will say that it's a really positive thing that Qantas are now engaging with the aviation community, so they deserve a kudos there. For much of the product, you can make an assessment yourself from what I've shown you, but in my opinion, let's start with the positives. It really is a quieter aircraft than the 737, which is the first comment everyone made once we got off. And the takeoff performance was impressive today, although that would have been because it was a fairly light aircraft. Look, the seats are fine. I can't say that they're amazing, and they're just regular short-haul economy and business seats. The additional overhead luggage space is great, as I said earlier, as people seem to carry a lot more carry-on these days. And now the negatives. The Wi-Fi did seem temperamental, and if you're going to not have an IFE screen and rely on passengers to bring their own devices, you need the internet connectivity to work well. There's also the issue of only 2 toilets for the 180 economy passengers, although I'm glad to hear that that will be increased to 3 toilets after the 3rd aircraft delivery. Otherwise, it's just exciting to have more aircraft types flying around Australia. Just a few years ago, everything was a 737 or Jetstar's A320s, so now domestic airports are very exciting places for nerds like me with A220s, Embraers and a lot of Fokkers over in Perth, and now these new A321XLRs. It won't be long before the 737 becomes a novelty. As it's larger than the 737, I've been told that there will now be 2 flight attendants dedicated to business class instead of just the 1, and 2 carts covering half of the economy cabin each. And now for the competition. Now I've already got many aircraft models, so I'm sure someone out there would be really excited to get the 1 in 400 Qantas Airbus A321XLR model and this branded pen. To enter, simply comment below including the hashtag Paul's giveaway, and after 14 days, I'll randomly select someone. Make sure that you're subscribed, as I'll mention the winner on my channel page in a post, and then I'll mail it out. Now I'd love to hear what you think about the new aircraft, and if you've booked on one. Check out my channel for many similar videos, and thanks for watching.